My brother's wife falsely accused me of hurting her kids. My family believed her, and my mom called me disgusting. I was summoned to court, but now the truth is out, and they're begging me to come back. Hey everyone. Before we dive into today's video, I want to ask for your help. We've noticed the channel's been slowing down a bit, and subscribing is a fantastic way to support us. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you awesome stuff. Your support means everything to us, so let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks a ton. Now, let's get into the video. Alright, so I'm going to be real with you guys. This story is going to seriously tick you off and make you rethink everything you thought about the legal system. It should also remind you not to ignore those red flags. I'm 39 now, working as a data analyst, and I've been happily single for about 8 years, not because I can't find someone, but because I choose not to deal with the circus that is modern dating. Too much drama, too many games, and it's a mess when you try to walk away. I'd rather blast Metallica, hit the gym until my shoulders scream, and live life without someone constantly testing my limits. This whole mess started when my younger brother, Derek, struck it big with a tech deal. I could see the vultures circling from a mile away. Derek's 34 and has been grinding through startup life for years, living on ramen and hope like every other techie in Silicon Valley. He's got full custody of his 2 kids, Eliza and Jake, after his ex moved away for work, so he's been balancing being a single dad and his career. Then, his blockchain company got bought by Microsoft for a ridiculous amount of money, like retire at 34 and buy an island kind of money. I wasn't bitter. Derek's a great guy who deserves a break. I have my own place, some savings, and I've built my life bit by bit over 20 years of hard work. But I knew what happens when regular guys suddenly come into a lot of cash. Every mooch within 50 miles starts sniffing around. Derek went all out with his newfound wealth, designer clothes, an expensive Tesla, a downtown penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows. Typical new money stuff. His choice, whatever. Then this girl, let's call her Sophia, waltzed into the picture. They met 6 months after his windfall. She claimed to be a freelance photographer but acted like she came from old money, perfectly done makeup, designer purses, nails always on point. She said she was between apartments while working on her photography portfolio, but I could see the red flags from a mile away. I've met her kind before. Professional gold diggers aren't the cliché people think, they're smart predators who know exactly what they're doing. Derek was smitten from the start, talking about this amazing woman who got his creative vision during family dinners. I mean, come on, he writes database queries and watches Netflix. I've seen enough of the world to know the signs, how some people casually pry into your finances during small talk or subtly manipulate without you knowing. Sophia set off all my alarms, but my family completely bought into her act. My parents thought she was perfect for Derek, my sister kept praising her sophistication, and even extended family members were eager for Derek to propose. Sophia moved in after just 2 weeks, claiming her housing situation fell through. Funny how her photography equipment never showed up, though. No cameras, no gear, nothing that screamed professional artist. When I asked about her work, she'd give vague answers about lifestyle photography and branding. Then she started talking about missing fancy restaurants and her old BMW, hinting at how quality men treat their women. At Christmas dinner, I saw her Googling Derek's net worth on her phone. When I caught her, she just switched to Instagram like nothing happened. That proved everything I suspected, she was a pro. I tried warning Derek multiple times, but when a guy's getting attention and his ego stroked by someone attractive, logic doesn't stand a chance. She moved in after 2 weeks and hasn't chipped in a dime for anything, I pointed out during one of our gym sessions. She says she's a photographer, but she doesn't have any gear. Think about that. He'd just shrug it off, saying, "You don't get it, it's different with us. She's been hurt before, she needs time." Classic denial. I stepped back, figuring he'd have to learn the hard way. After New Year's, Sophia started pushing for more, like needing keys to Derek's place for convenience and asking to use his Amazon account for work supplies. Just little steps toward controlling the wallet, but Derek didn't see it. She even cornered me at his New Year's party, working the room like a pro, making sure everyone knew she was with the guy who had money. "Marcus, Derek talks about you all the time," she said, throwing on a fake smile and touching my arm. "It's sweet how much you care about him." "Just want what's best for my brother," I replied. "Of course you do. I think there might be some misunderstandings about my intentions, though," she said, still smiling, but with eyes that turned cold. "I love Derek deeply. I'm not going anywhere." "Good to know. I hope we can be friends. It'd be a shame if Derek ever had to choose between his girlfriend and his brother," she said. That was the threat, wrapped in sweetness. She was declaring war while acting like she wanted peace. I started paying more attention after that. I saw how she dodged questions about her real intentions. You know, Sophia was a real master at keeping everything about her past a mystery. No tales from her childhood, no stories about her family, zilch about any previous relationships, nothing personal ever slipped out. If anyone dared to ask about her photography gig, she'd smoothly switch gears and gush about Derek's accomplishments instead, like some pro-level dodge of the question. Her financial asks started getting a bit more, let's say, strategic too. She'd hit Derek up for cash to cover car repairs that magically matched the amount he mentioned investing, or claim her sister was in some medical jam that required just as much as his latest bonus. It was always some urgent drama that needed quick cash. By the time spring rolled around, she was even hinting at the whole joint bank account thing and talking up how amazing it would be if Derek helped her parents with their mortgage, right there during family dinners. It really seemed heartwarming, her concern for family financial stability, right? Most guys don't see women like Sophia coming because they don't just dive right in with big demands. No, they chip away gradually, testing the waters, normalizing the idea of paying for stuff here and there. They don't grab control right off the bat, they get you to hand it over bit by bit. Before you know it, you've unwittingly granted them full access to your finances. But Derek, he's not completely clueless. The constant pressure for cash finally set off alarm bells in his head. He came over to my place one evening, looking all stressed out, saying, "I think I messed up big time with Sophia." I asked him what was up, and he told me he'd been keeping an eye on their spending because things seemed off. Sophia was always claiming she had no money, yet she was splurging on high-end skincare, $8 coffee every day, and $80 nail appointments. It was either a lie about being broke, or money was coming from somewhere else. I just listened, letting him piece it together, and when he questioned her for a legit photography portfolio, she snapped back, accusing him of being controlling. Derek was crushed, feeling like she'd played him the whole time. So, I asked him what he planned to do. I already saw this showdown coming. He said he'd confront her, ask the tough questions, and demand honest answers. If her career was a con, what else had she lied about? I felt really bad for Derek. He was a decent dude, totally wrecked after his divorce, left to raise 2 kids by himself. Sophia's attention and affection came at a time when he was super vulnerable, just desperate to believe someone actually cared again. But reality was starting to break through his emotional haze. Be careful when you corner her, I warned. People can get nasty when their scams are exposed. I had no idea how right I was. 2 days later, Derek confronted her about the money and her so-called career. She pulled every trick in the book, tears, playing the victim, even threatening to leave. But this time, Derek held his ground and asked for proof of her stories. When that didn't work, she tried blaming me, claiming I'd been sabotaging their relationship and acting inappropriately towards her. It was all lies, but she sold it like it was gospel. Luckily, Derek saw through it and kicked her out, changed the locks, and told her to vanish. I thought that was the end of the whole Sophia debacle, but oh boy, was I wrong. 3 days after Derek tossed her out, I had a knock on my door. 2 Child Protective Services investigators and a cop were there, holding official documents. They said, "Marcus Chen, we need to discuss some very serious accusations that have been made against you." My brain just froze. Accusations of what? They accused me of inappropriate behavior with minors, claiming I'd acted suspiciously with Derek's kids at family gatherings. Let me be crystal clear, I don't like kids. Never have, never will. I tolerate Derek's kids because, well, they're family, but I'm definitely not the uncle who jumps up to babysit. Help with homework? Sure, if they ask. Play video games? Occasionally. But the idea that I'd want any inappropriate contact with kids is completely insane to anyone who knows me. This had to be a mistake, right? When I asked who filed these reports, they said it was an anonymous tip from 3 days ago, full of detailed nonsense. And it all happened exactly 72 hours after Sophia got booted. Every accusation was ridiculously specific, claims of inappropriate touching at family events, secret talks with the kids, using gifts to keep them quiet about our special relationship. Someone had clearly done their homework to make these charges look legit. But here's the kicker, they said Derek filed supporting criminal charges. My own brother, listening to his ex-girlfriend's twisted tales, went to the cops with this utter garbage. Not just participating in the investigation, but actively pushing for my arrest on charges that could land me in prison. Next thing I knew, I was in the basement interview room at the downtown precinct, listening to detectives read these wild accusations. It hit me hard how screwed my life had become. Charges involving kids aren't like other lies. There's no middle ground. You're either innocent, or you're a monster. Proving a negative? Virtually impossible. They didn't waste any time ripping my life apart. As soon as they let me go after the initial questioning, a team came to my apartment with a search warrant, combed through everything while neighbors poked their heads out to watch. Then came the phone calls. My boss called, demanding I come in. My parents called, confused and angry. My dad was practically shouting, "What the hell did you do?" Pure chaos, like I'd single-handedly blown up the family's reputation. I tried to explain, to get even one word in about how it was all fake, Sophia's retaliation. But my mom cut me off, saying maybe if I hadn't meddled in Derek's relationship, none of this would have happened. "Look what you've done. You're a disgusting creep, Marcus. I'm ashamed of you," she said, and hung up before I could say anything. That's when I truly realized my family was not just unsupportive, they were choosing the easy lie over the tough truth. It was simpler for them to think I was guilty than to admit they'd completely misjudged the situation. So, let me tell you about the absolute chaos that hit my life because of Sophia. It was like watching my whole world implode in real time. Once the legal stuff kicked off, it was full steam ahead. They swooped in, took all my electronics, and tore my apartment apart searching for anything. They even talked to my neighbors about how I acted around kids and put me on administrative leave from work while they looked into everything. Then, the court slapped me with a restraining order that said I couldn't go near schools, playgrounds, daycares, or anywhere kids might be. Seriously, like I was just dying to chill around sticky-handed little goblins. In just 2 days, I'd gone from being a successful data analyst to being labeled a suspected child predator, all because I tried to warn my brother about his sketchy girlfriend. The craziest part is dear Eric knew what Sophia was like. He had just spent weeks figuring out her lies, but when she turned her tricks on me, he bought it all. My own brother sided with his psycho ex over me. Thank God for Big Jake, though. He's been my rock through this mess. We've been tight since college, and he knew the accusations were total BS. "Man, you barely put up with kids on your best days," he said when I called him completely freaking out. "You dodge family events if there's even a hint of screaming kids." Jake was right. Kids aren't my thing at all. I find them irritating and exhausting most of the time. I'm polite to Eliza and Jake because they're dear Eric's kids, but I'm not going out of my way to hang with them. I taught Jake how to throw a football last summer and played some Mario Kart with Eliza a few times. Totally normal uncle stuff that any sane person would see as completely innocent. But false accusations don't need logic. They just have to sound sketchy enough to strangers making big decisions about your life. Once the investigation kicked off, life turned into a nightmare. I had to hire a defense attorney specializing in these cases, which cost me $45,000 up front. And he said this could drag on for years, with costs piling up. That restraining order was the worst. I had to move out immediately since I lived near a school. Finding a decent place was a joke with an active investigation hanging over me. Ended up in a crappy studio paying rent month to month because no legit place would lease to me. Work was even worse. HR called me in about the extremely concerning allegations they'd heard. Tried explaining it was revenge from a bitter ex, but nope, the company had a no-tolerance policy for anything like this. Got fired on the spot, no severance, no unemployment. Everything I'd built over 20 years gone overnight. All my references were trashed because everyone knew why I got canned. My family dropped me faster than a hot potato. My sister blocked me instantly, and the extended family ghosted. No one wanted to be linked to the supposed family child molester. Dear Eric played the heartbroken dad card for everyone watching, saying how rough this was for him and how he had to put his kids' safety first. Meanwhile, he was helping prosecutors build their case against me. The investigation dragged on for 9 grueling months. 9 months in limbo while they dissected every bit of data from my computers and talked to everyone I ever knew, trying to find evidence of crimes that never happened. My lawyer laid it out brutally. If convicted, I was looking at 15 to 30 years in prison. At 36, that would have meant getting out just in time to retire, if I even made it that long. The prosecutor's office had a 78% conviction rate. We needed solid proof of my innocence, not just holes in their case. So we scrambled to build a defense, subpoenaing records, photos, and my work schedule to prove I was nowhere near the kids during the supposed incidents. Every family member who'd seen me with Eliza and Jake got interviewed. Sophia was crafty with her timeline, though, placing things during regular family hangouts, no specific events to alibi. Even while dealing with this, Sophia was playing the concerned stepmom perfectly. She testified 3 times, her story just believable enough. The prosecutor loved her, she was their star witness. Eliza and Jake were interviewed over and over. Thank God they were honest because their stories were my only saving grace. They described normal uncle stuff, help with homework, video games, tossing a football around. No weirdness, no secrets. But even with the kids denying anything, prosecutors could twist that as them protecting me or being too scared to tell the truth. Outside of court wasn't any better. Neighbors treated me like I had the plague. Parents would pull their kids inside when I walked by. One mom called the cops on me just for walking past a playground on my way to the grocery store. Month after month, nothing moved forward. The prosecution kept delaying, supposedly to find more evidence. My lawyer thought they knew their case was flimsy but were hoping to stumble upon something new. I was stuck in this limbo, unable to work, struggling to prove my innocence to anyone, especially my mom, during every tense court appearance as they described in detail what I'd supposedly done. Man, I can't even begin to tell you how wild things got. Watching Sophia casually dabbing her eyes with tissues as she spun her ridiculous tales was a show in itself. And seeing Derek in the gallery, backing up her twisted version of events, was the absolute worst. There was this one preliminary hearing where they read out all the accusations, every gross detail, right there in front of 20 people. I felt like the court reporter was stamping my name on something I didn't even do. During this crazy time, Big Jake was my rock. The dude was a lifesaver, bringing me groceries when going out felt impossible, and helping with job applications when my mind was all over the place. He never doubted me for a second. In his garage, while lifting weights, he'd say, "This is straight up character assassination, man." He gave me a sliver of hope, saying the truth would shine through eventually. By month 7, I was seriously thinking about taking a plea deal. My lawyer uncovered some inconsistencies in Sophia's timeline, but nothing solid. The prosecution dangled 7 years in front of me if I pleaded guilty to lesser charges, like inappropriate touching instead of the big stuff. 7 years seemed doable compared to life in prison. My lawyer said, "It's not an admission of guilt, it's a business decision. Maybe I'd be out in 4 with good behavior." I almost went for it, but pure rage kept me going. I was fuming at Sophia for this nightmare and crushed by Derek's betrayal. How could my own brother choose to believe the worst about me? I refused to stay down. While struggling day by day, I was plotting my comeback. Then, after 9 brutal months, my lawyer called with game-changing news. They found Sophia's digital trail, and it was a goldmine. Her browser history was like a how-to guide on framing someone with fake accusations. My lawyer's investigator even tracked down Sophia's old roommate. She was reluctant at first, but once she heard I was facing 30 years for crimes I didn't commit, she handed over some explosive texts. Sophia had planned to get rid of me and make sure Derek never talked to me again. It was all there in black and white. Sophia's story kept changing too. She first claimed the incidents happened at family gatherings but then switched to saying I took Jake to my apartment, which security footage proved didn't happen. She even said I gave Eliza a secret phone, but that was a total lie too. It was clear she was just making it up as she went along. The kicker? Her report came exactly 72 hours after Derek cut her off financially. Coincidence? I think not. With all this evidence, my lawyer met with the lead prosecutor for hours. The next morning, he called and said, "All charges are being dropped, for good." I just sat staring at the wall, no tears or fist pumps, like hearing the cancer was gone but after you'd lost your legs. Legally, I was clear, but my life? Forever changed. Trying to get back to my old job was a dead end, they'd replaced me. Other companies knew about the investigation, and even though the charges were dropped, that history still hung over me. It took 8 long months to find work again, at a smaller company for less pay. Had to basically start over at 37 because some gold-digging psycho used child abuse accusations for revenge. And Derek? He had the nerve to come to me with some half-hearted apology, whining about protecting his kids. Sorry, not buying it. He chose a manipulative ex over his own brother and even teamed up with the prosecutors. Then he says the kids miss me, but it's not happening because his new girlfriend thinks it's better we wait. So, even now, I'm treated like a risk. Derek wants everything to be cool, but I can't just act like nothing happened when my relationship with his kids is ruined. Some betrayals are too big to forgive, and some bridges can't be rebuilt. But Sophia? She thought she was in the clear, sitting pretty on her divorce settlement money. What a mess. So, I packed up and moved to a new city, thinking I could just start over. But I had a feeling she was already on the prowl for her next rich prey. Man, she was dead wrong if she thought she'd get away with it. Big Jake, my buddy, was a huge help. We dug into every legal option we could think of to get some real justice. You can't just let that nutcase walk away after all this crap, Jake would say while we were tinkering with his Harley in his garage. And he was right. She ended up costing me a fortune in legal fees, lost income, and totally wrecked my reputation. Something had to be done. I found a lawyer who knows their stuff when it comes to suing people for defamation, emotional distress, and messing with legal processes. It set me back another $25,000 just for representation, but this wasn't just about the cash anymore. This was about making sure actions have consequences. The cool thing about civil court is you don't need to prove stuff beyond a reasonable doubt like in criminal cases. You just need to show it's more likely than not that someone lied and caused damage. We had all the proof we needed, her browser history showing her plans, texts about her schemes, and the timing of her accusations right after Eric dumped her. Plus, her story kept changing, and the prosecutor's report confirmed she was out for revenge. We kept track of how much she messed up my life: $73,000 in legal fees, $180,000 in lost income, moving costs, therapy, even my credit score took a hit. In total, it was $340,000 in direct damages. But I wasn't stopping there, I wanted punitive damages too, for all the emotional havoc and reputation hits she caused. We were aiming for the max allowed by state law. The case dragged on for 18 tough months. Sophia got herself a pricey downtown lawyer and tried everything to defend herself, claiming she believed her accusations and was trying to protect kids. But none of it worked. The evidence was crystal clear that she made it all up to get back at me. A big moment came when we questioned her old roommate. She broke down and admitted Sophia had a detailed plan to take me down with false accusations. Big Jake was there for every court session, taking notes and cheering me on. "This is real justice," he'd say after each day in court. The jury took 6 hours to decide, and they found her guilty on all counts. The damages they awarded were $850,000, more than double what we asked for. The judge's closing remarks were the cherry on top, calling her actions calculated and malicious. But here's the kicker: Sophia didn't have $850,000 lying around. So, we started garnishing her wages directly. We put liens on any property she tries to buy, and if she ever gets an inheritance or divorce settlement, we're first in line. She even tried declaring bankruptcy to dodge the judgment, but you can't escape a debt that comes from intentional wrongdoing. This debt is going to follow her for life. Jake helped track her financials, and right now she's making around $45,000 a year at some department store. After our deductions and taxes, she's left with about $2,800 a month, hardly the lifestyle she was used to. Every time she tries to get credit or a new job, they see she owes almost $1 million for filing false accusations. This whole ordeal changed me. I'm a lot more cynical and less trusting now. I don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt anymore. Even my own brother, Eric, chose to believe lies over me, his blood. That hurts deep, especially since his kids, Eliza and Jake, were like my own. Now, they barely know me. My parents and Eric sent hints about reconciling, but it's easy for them to talk when they weren't on my side when it mattered. And honestly, I sleep well knowing she faces real consequences daily. Every paycheck, every rejected credit application is a reminder of the mess she tried to create. Some folks say I should just move on and leave it behind, but they've never had their life twisted by lies. They've never watched family choose comfort over truth. Jake sums it up perfectly: you don't just get your money back, you send a message to anyone trying to pull the same stunt. And every month that garnishment hits Sophia's check, she's reminded of that message.